Hi folks. I'm going to diverge a little bit from my usual type of fare on this channel. I actually want to talk a little bit about the law. There was, within the past couple of days, I read about it this morning, I didn't notice what day it happened, but there was a protest in Florida, the state where I live, against the Stand Your Ground law. It was led by Al Sharpton and the mother of Trayvon Martin and the mother of another kid who was killed were leaders of this protest. And I remember when the Trayvon Martin case was going on, there was a lot of talk about the Stand Your Ground law, even though Stand Your Ground is actually completely irrelevant to the Martin case. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the law itself, which I support. I support Stand Your Ground. I think it's a great idea. And I also want to explain why it's completely irrelevant to Trayvon Martin. So the purpose of Stand Your Ground, before its inception, in the state of Florida, you were permitted to use lethal force, whether it was a gun, a knife, a baseball bat, a rock, whatever, to defend yourself in cases in which you were attacked using lethal force. If someone was using lethal force against you, or if they were attempting to commit a forcible felony against you, like rape or kidnapping. But even though you were allowed to use lethal force to defend yourself, you had a duty to retreat if possible. Now, that doesn't sound like a bad thing. If you can get away, you get away. You don't just shoot first and ask questions later. But I'm going to give you an example. This is a hypothetical example, but it is not unlike real cases that happened in Florida and in other states that had similar duty to retreat laws. So anyway, this is a hypothetical story. A woman pulls into a dark parking lot at night. She's getting out of her car, and suddenly a man appears from behind a nearby car. He's wearing gloves and a ski mask and wielding a knife, and he comes at her and says, "Stay right there!" And he's running with a knife. She pulls out a gun and shoots him dead. Before the Stand Your Ground law was passed, when the police showed up, they would not just ask, was he attacking you with a knife? Were you afraid for your life? They would also ask, well, was your car door closed? Could you have gotten back in your car door before he got to you? Did you show him your gun before you shot him? Could you have fired a warning shot? If the police determined that there might have been other courses of action she could have taken, in that split second as she was defending herself, if they think maybe she could have gotten back in her car, or maybe she could have warned him that she had a gun and stopped him from coming at her, she would be arrested. And she would be charged with manslaughter. And a jury would be basically asked to do some Monday morning quarterbacking on her case, and to ask if she had other options that she could have tried before she killed him. Now, of course, the jury could not be in her mind. It could not experience what she experienced as she's getting out of a car and suddenly there's a man running at her with a knife. But it would be asked to. And it would be told that the jury would be told that if it determined she could have gotten back in her car, or that she could have fired a warning shot, or shown him the gun and said, "I have a gun, back off," or something before he got to her, she would be convicted of manslaughter and would spend potentially years in prison for defending herself. The jury would not have to question whether she was acting in self-defense. It would not have to question whether the man was really running at her with a gun, whether his intent was to kill her or to rape her or kidnap her. All that would be obvious. They would have to ask whether there was the possibility she could have done something else before shooting him that could have stopped him from committing the crime without killing him. After the Stand Your Ground law, the police would only have a couple of questions to ask. Did she have reason to believe her life was in danger, or that the man was going to commit a forcible felony against her? And the answer would be an obvious yes. And was she acting in self-defense? The answer to that would be an obvious yes, too. she wouldn't be allowed to get back in her car, drive to a different part of the parking lot, and shoot him across the parking lot, because that would be a no to the question, was she acting in self-defense? But as long as the threat is there and it's real and she perceives it, she is allowed to defend herself using lethal force and is not required to take other action which could potentially put her in greater danger. Maybe she couldn't get back in her car. Maybe she couldn't warn him because he's too close, but the jury doesn't really understand that. So that's the difference Stand Your Ground made. It was irrelevant to the Trayvon Martin case. There were two theories of the crime presented in the Martin trial. Or not the Martin trial, the Zimmerman trial. In the Zimmerman trial, there were two theories of the crime presented. One was presented by the prosecution that Zimmerman stalked and murdered Trayvon Martin because he was black. That would be second-degree murder, or actually I think it would be first-degree murder, but he was charged with second-degree murder. That would be the same before or after Stand Your Ground. Stand Your Ground does not give you the ability to stalk and kill people for their race. Does not give you that ability. Zimmerman's explanation for what happened, and there was actually evidence to back this up, was that he was following Trayvon Martin to see if he was going to commit a crime. Not the most brilliant behavior, but also not illegal. It is not illegal to watch someone to see if they're going to commit a crime. So he's following Martin to see if he's going to commit a crime. He is subsequently attacked by Martin, knocked to the ground. Martin straddles him and is beating his head into the pavement. At this point, Zimmerman pulls out a gun and shoots him dead. Now, before the inception of Stand Your Ground, this would be self-defense. The jury would have found exactly the same thing. He would have been not guilty. Before or after Stand Your Ground, the prosecution's claim would have been murder. He would have been found guilty either way. If the Stand Your Ground law had not passed, the outcome of the Zimmerman trial would have been identical. It would not have changed at all. And the purpose, unlike what some have claimed, the purpose of the Stand Your Ground law is not to give white people a license to go around shooting black people because they're black. It's to give anyone, whether white or black or Hispanic or Asian or anything, the right to self-defense without the law second-guessing what you did when you defended yourself. If you really were in danger, and you defend yourself, killing your attacker, the law does not ask, well, could there have been something else you could have done? Could you have given a warning? Could you have run away? It just asks, were you in danger either for your life or a forcible felony, like kidnapping or rape? And did you act in self-defense? And I think that is a completely reasonable law. Anyway, thank you for watching. And I hope you will come back and watch other videos. Bye.